Niswingaba sakandikon Meghalaya News 24 channel ni kita special session na ram chaksawa. Anjung baksa dalni special session o opposition All India Trinamool Congress AITC ni dulgaba Dr MuKul sangma bakhor anginga. Wa khobor chum parang ni anirang na akan talateon an baksa na daong ingapa sorkari ko duwani ko ba takanga ha. Monggobar salo special session ong atkapao opposition AITC ni dulgaba Dr MuKul sangma ni anirang ko akan chakna kusi ong aniko wa paraki wa talatani ko takanga ha. Skanga pa on yamgri khoila cho isalani bidingo wa sorkari ni ya obosani bidingo dalir ajani gaman aroji ya khoila cho ani gaman saniani ko takapa mandirang ko ba maiko pa skidrup tunangani gaman akan talatanga ha. Yano sorkari ni ya gama serang ni gaman daito ra gija ko mesoka ani wa agananga.
Both print and electronic media and the social media, and many people have that way. I must place on record my sincere appreciation to all those people who have come forward to almost like a freelancer activist in absence of other civil society organization whose attempt to draw the attention of the government pertaining to the illegal coal mining and their transportation was to a great extent suppressed by the government. Refer to the case of Kong Agnishkar Singh. The whole absence of the your sense of responsibility from the government not forthcoming to go after the criminals has emboldened the criminals and thereby suppress all the possible aggressive usual that whole spirit of conviction, commitment, the zeal that the whole civil society organizations have. We always used to have deep appreciation on that alert and vigilant and assertive civil society. Today, if you see in respect of coal mining, the allegations of illegal coal mining and illegal transportation and at the cost of the interest of the state, you see that everybody who has tried to come up to draw the attention of the government to correct the things have been suppressed. And today, therefore, it is important for us to really take cognizance of whatever effort has been put by many people to draw the attention of the government, and this has been taken into cognizance by Honorable High Court. Please remember one thing which I repeatedly refer to is that Section 21 of MMDR Act and the subsection 1 and the subsequent subsections thereof says that subsection 1 of the Section 21 of MMDR Act 1957 is a cognizable offense. So government has to understand its binding responsibility towards protecting the interests of the state to prevent repetition of that crime or to go after those people who are perpetrators of that crime.
Yan yamgri khoila cho isalani bidingo dosi takabarang ko na ba namdabatna anirang ko takangone phangnan sorkar yan dosi dongpa gata sa takme sokronga aro yan bulonge jajring atkapa khathang inga aro phangnan anthangthang ko wara chakna sa khatharang ko agan ronga. Uni gaman sorkari ra maina niyamgri khoila cho ani gaman saniyani ko takingona anthangthang ko naljokatani khathako agan ronga wa mangan dosi takapama ani Dr MuKul rakpein ani ko takanga.
Those people who are perpetrators of that crime. But then today what is very disturbing and annoying is that government has on a regular basis acted more like the accused. If you look at their behavior, their attitude and their approach towards dealing with this concern is that they have always tried to defend. Defend whom? Defend whom? Defend why? Are they the accused? So this is $1 million question. Therefore, every investigation that should revolve around this allegation of irregular, illegal coal mining and illegal transportation of the coal must revolve around as to why there is a tendency of the government to behave like accused. Why? Why? What is the reason? Are they the beneficiaries? Therefore, the investigation has to be directed towards that. You remember, didn't I visit one of the places in West Jaintia Hills, which is usually a district which is not known to be having a huge coal bearing areas.
Khobor ko agan gaparangi Dr MuKul sangma ko sorkari ni hajal gani chichat bulsi ni March ni dok tarik ko ni bulsi bri na sorkari irkani gaman angon Dr MuKul sangma hajal gani chichat bulsi na skang ingapa Meghalaya ni gaman agan ha jion wamang Meghalaya doko nam gapa katarangchi kambewal chil suluro daluro watna kamko ka acham aro Meghalaya ni golpo ko adokni apalchi nama bimuko mankan sa joton ka aronga anebawa agan ha.
You compare how the government was prior to 4 years, March 6th, 2018. Okay, that was the time when I demitted office. The Chief Minister was then sworn in on the 6th of March, 2018. I would try to revisit pre-2018, how the momentum of growth and development was a matter of narrative, not just within the state, but outside the state. You look at number of magazines when the government did not indulge in any advertisement through any print or electronic media. You are aware of that. During our time, what we adopted, the strategy that we adopted was that our work should create positive stories, and these positive stories should ultimately be the reason for Meghalaya to be known outside. These positive stories of Meghalaya shall create and generate the narratives. Narrative? What type of narrative? Narrative about good things happening in Meghalaya. How Meghalaya is being perceived as a state which is known for good things and which ultimately started positioning itself as one of the emerging new destination in the hospitality sector. You could see the footfalls of tourists, both domestic and foreign tourists. You look at the scales and you look at the people who were benefited out of that trend of progress and development. Multiple sector. So therefore, that was, against the backdrop of some stories of concern like the militancy, the terrorism in the western part, but it did not deter the government then from really taking things with a positive attitude, and we stood firm in our sense of optimism because we believed in our people that once you create an enabling environment, people will all come and aggregate their strength to position the state in such a position that will be capable of generating the right kind of momentum of growth and development, and at the same time not just generating the momentum of growth and development, but also enable the state to sustain.
Un baksana wa laksana batte metric thon rangni skatang revenue gri royalty gri aro GST gri gumani kho bajana pangha aro yarangni bidungo nami sanyani kho takahama aneba was angaha wa chief secretary na yani bidungo chitti ko ba sia hacham aro jakatele sandir ketani kho ba nangda kacham andiba sorkari yani bidungo sandir ketani pal adang tangan dosi donga kata santang ko chelsakna jothon ka aha uni gamasa Dr MuKul sangma sorkari ni mandesa longija take mesokani ko ba khobor unthum ko parang na thalatani ko takenga aro je kham kha ga parangan yam griong gija take khamarang ko khaenga cham wamang ko de kham ni khri sasti ko bo na nanga anewa agananga ha
1 lakh, and I think I remember 1 lakh plus 1 lakh 41 or 1 lakh 51,000 metric ton, and their disappearance without any revenue, royalty, GST, cess not being accrued to the government exchequer. Has investigation been done properly? The Lok Ayukta took cognizance of my letter written to the Chief Secretary and wanted that a proper independent investigation be done. The government defended. The government defended as though the government itself is the accused. That's why I'm telling you, you have to understand as to what is the reason why government has been behaving so abnormally under these circumstances. The responsibility of the state to protect the interests of the people, the responsibility of the people who are considered as the public servants to protect the interests of the state is a binding legal and constitutional requirement. Anybody who failed to protect the interests of the state has to be prosecuted as per the law of the land. Refer to many of the pronouncements of the Honorable Supreme Court. Yes, when you go through those pronouncements, then it is a prima facie case where the whole legal action should proceed against the people who are in authority. In other words, the public servants. The public servants who have failed to protect the interests of the state.
Dr MuKul sangma February jani khogruktok aru khogruksnio police kamna porika sigaparani geman ba jana pangaha aru andita somayong pulona ba daonan wani result ko naman kujani geman ya police kamna porika sigapani bidungo ba maya ba gija khamarangko khaenga ba makhang ni thiani ko dakna singa ba maina ba khenesa result rangko ningjenga ne chanchi managen ane ba wa agananga ha un baksane ya police department ko kamna galgaparang ni bimurang ko ba website to nakhatatna sabo donthonga tinga ane was nganga ha aru yani bidungo Dr MuKul kosak chiba golpunas ngani rangko daknar anggen enable suen agananga ha yarangna agreba wara matariani bidungo aru Assam Meghalaya ni sima arini gemun ba thalta pe khobor thumgaparangna special session agananga ha
department to ensure that the whole recruitment process is transparent. Why? Because there were doubts about the manner in which police were recruited in the past. That's why during our time, the first thing that we tried to do in police was that, because that was based on our understanding that and our realization that police department is one of the departments where you have substantial number of vacancies, on a yearly basis, which is capable, vacancies taking place, which is capable of providing spaces of opportunity for job seekers. Now, square kilometers of land which comprises across these 12 areas of difference. You're talking about only 36 square kilometers. The approach is very important. When we engage with our counterpart to resolve this issue in sync with the aspirations of the people, what do the people of Meghalaya say? They say, resolve this. We must protect our land. Didn't our people say, protect our land, protect our people? What do you mean by protection of the land and the people who are residing in it? Whose job it is, whose responsibility it is? Therefore, when you're talking about this whole problem, now leaving behind those block 1 and block 2, where you have more than 1500 square kilometers of areas falling under the area of difference, then you have almost 298 square kilometers in respect of Lampi. Then you have the PCR, where you have almost 12 plus 64 or 68 square kilometers. These are the areas you are, you want on this. See what I have said today. I think my submission is abundantly clear. Now, what is interesting to see is that, they are working on a document which is the outcome of exhaustive due diligence, the whole compilation of records to strengthen the position of the state of Meghalaya in respect of our claim over those areas of difference between Assam and Meghalaya. Now, these claims based on these records to strengthen our claim and justify our claim has been submitted, area by area in 2011, in the month of August, if I'm not wrong. So by August 2011, 2010, May 28th, I took charge as the Chief Minister of the state of Meghalaya. And we all know about how, at the initial part of my innings as Chief Minister, we were confronted by this problem pertaining to this problem along the interstate border areas of differences. To be more specific, the problem that erupted in Lampi. And subsequent to that, we wanted that, this issue pertaining to these areas of difference with Assam must be resolved at the earliest. And when we tried to find out how do we position ourselves so that we will be in a position of strength when we engage with Assam? Do we have all the records to back up our claim, to justify our claim? Well, we were not prepared. We were not prepared. That was the reality. So the whole, necessity as a state to be able to negotiate and engage with our counterpart from position of strength, we needed to have those records to strengthen our claim and justify our claim. And for that, we had to really embark upon, getting our hands on more of the notifications, the revenue records, the various notifications during the time of, the colonial rule, pre-independence. And the government did not saying that, okay, you want to go ahead. Now the approach, what I'm saying is wrong. Because the moment you resolve these issues pertaining to Khanapara, where the government is not bothered to look at as to how will you really position yourself when you have resolved these issues, and the more complex and more difficult areas are left behind, the block 1 and block 2. And the parameters, the principles adopted, historical background, ethnicity, contiguity with the boundaries, existing boundaries, then will of the people, okay, and convenience of governance. Now, will of the people. I was quite surprised to hear one of the legislators saying that the landowners have the right to decide. If the landowners have to decide whether they will belong to Assam or their land should be, that means the landowners will determine the boundary of the state. If landowners are asked to determine the boundaries of the state, particularly in those areas along Assam-Meghalaya border in the vicinity of Guwahati, what is going to happen? Are the land in the possession of people belonging to only our ethnic, the ethnic communities belonging to our indigenous communities only? So different people will have different tendency, inclination, the whole sense of loyalty towards either of the states. Now I believe that people have been always asking us, sir, please protect us, please defend us. Now what is the parameter? Today I am also quite surprised to hear when one of the members in the August House was referring to the whole exercise which was resorted to for engagement with the stakeholders, including the members representing the traditional institutions. And I am surprised to hear that one of the traditional institutions, when he wanted to speak, was shunted out, wasn't allowed. So therefore, what we have said is that the will of the people is not confined to the inclination of the landowners. Landowners cannot decide or determine the boundaries of a state. If this is the precedence created, you are going to be in a weak wicket for future engagement with Assam.